Hi, my name's Dr. Faye Kennedy. I'm a GP and I'm also a new mum to a 10-month-old baby. I'm going to talk to you today about some of the foods to avoid in pregnancy. So the first thing to say is that there are a lot of old wives' tales about what and what not to avoid food-wise in pregnancy. So hopefully I'll be able to dispel some of those myths today. But it is also very important to avoid some foods which can cause a lot of harm to your unborn baby if you get infections through eating these foods. I thought I'd talk initially about nuts and peanuts. There was a stage not too long ago where pregnant women were advised not to eat peanuts during their pregnancy for risk of their babies becoming allergic to peanuts and gaining other allergies and having a higher risk of getting asthma. In fact, there doesn't seem to be any scientific evidence behind this now, and so the recommendations are that as long as you don't have a nut allergy yourself, you can go ahead and eat peanuts during pregnancy. So I'm going to talk about some dairy foods first of all, and often a hot topic is cheeses. We would recommend that you avoid any mould ripened cheese. So these cheeses include camembert and chèvre, which is a type of goat's cheese, and brie. So basically it's those soft cheeses with the rind which is made using a mould. These kind of cheeses can contain a bacteria called listeria, which can have very, very severe effects on your unborn child if your child gets listeriosis. It's wise to avoid any soft blue-veined cheeses such as Cambozola or Danish blue. You can eat any types of hard cheeses, even if they aren't made with pasteurised milk. You are able to eat some soft cheeses without rinds, so long as they've been made with pasteurised milk. So cheeses such as mozzarella, feta, halloumi, cottage cheese and paneer. As for milk, we advise that you drink only pasteurised milk or UHT, ultra heat treated milk. So avoid any unpasteurised milk. And it is okay to have things like soft ice creams, providing they have been made with pasteurised milk. So moving on to meat-based products, we advise that you avoid any types of pâté, even vegetable pâtés such as mushroom, because these have a very small risk of containing listeria, which again can be very harmful to your unborn baby. It's best to avoid any raw or undercooked meat. So if you're having any meat, make sure that it's cooked properly all the way through. This is to avoid any food poisoning and a bacteria in particular called Toxoplasma, which again can be very, very serious for your unborn baby. And also, if you're preparing raw meats, make sure that you wash everything thoroughly before and afterwards, because again, there's a high risk of picking up food poisoning. One meat to avoid completely in your pregnancy is liver, as this contains quite a high amount of vitamin A, and high amounts of vitamin A can again be very serious for your baby. So it's a good idea as well not to be taking any multivitamin supplements which also have vitamin A in them. You can, however, have other types of offal such as kidney. As for cold cured meats such as salami and pepperoni, if it's made in the UK, then it's okay to eat because food safety standards mean that the meat has been treated in such a way that bacteria will have been killed off. However, if you are outside of the UK, I would certainly check the food production guidelines before you eat these kind of meats. So now talking about fish, there are some types of fish which you should probably avoid altogether. Fish such as shark, marlin and swordfish contain really high levels of mercury, which can have detrimental effects to your baby's developing nervous system, so we ask you to avoid those completely. You should also try to limit the amount of tuna you eat as well for similar reasons, but you can have up to 4 tins of tuna per week or 2 tuna steaks per week. As for shellfish, we advise making sure that it's fully cooked. So I would avoid raw shellfish during your pregnancy because it can contain some viruses and bacteria that could be passed on to your baby. As for sushi, This is fine to eat so long as the fish that you are eating in the sushi has been frozen for a certain amount of time first. Now in the UK, again, food safety standards ensure that this is the case. So if you are eating sushi that has been made in the UK, that is fine during pregnancy. But if you're outside of the UK, again, I would be cautious. You are, however, okay to eat smoked salmon because the salmon has been smoked. So this should have killed off anything harmful in the process. And finally, moving on to drinks, be careful about the amount of caffeine that you're taking during your pregnancy. The maximum amount that you should be having per day is 200 milligrams. Now this is about the equivalent of 2 cups of filter coffee, so it's probably less than you actually thought it could be. And remember that caffeine isn't only present in tea and coffee, it can also be present in chocolate and in some cold and flu remedies. And also some teas which perhaps you think are caffeine free, such as green tea and Earl Grey, do also contain caffeine. So just be careful about your intake and perhaps think of some alternatives to drink instead. So it may seem from that there are an awful lot of foods that you have to avoid during your pregnancy. This isn't really the case, but if you are in doubt of what to eat and what not to eat, have a chat with your midwife, they will be able to advise you, or go to the NHS website, they've got lots of really useful information.